Find somebody to help you design a plan based around your objectives, not their objectives. I don't care about your lawyer's objectives. I don't care about your accountant's objectives. I care about you and your spouse's objectives.
Welcome to a brand new episode of the M&A Mastermind Podcast presented by Cornerstone International Alliance. I'm your host, Nick Olsen. On this show, I get the opportunity to talk with the brightest minds in lower middle market M&A. Together, we discuss industry intelligence, deal management, shared successes, specialized expertise, and much more. If you serve the small to medium-sized business owner, this show will offer you tactics and insights you can use and implement now to become a master in M&A. Welcome, everybody, to a brand new episode of the M&A Mastermind Podcast. My guest today is the president of Erben & Associates, a veteran succession and exit planning advisor. He is a frequent speaker and thought leader on topics such as exit readiness, continuity planning, and building a dream team. He is the author of Succession by Design, How Visionary Leaders Prepare Their Organization for What's Next. Please welcome my guest today, Jim Erben. Jim, welcome back to the show. Second appearance. You must have missed me or something. I don't know.
Thank you, Nick. I always like coming on this show. I love chatting with you and helping anybody I can with Cornerstone Alliance.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So we are here. You have a pretty big deal happening right now as you've are coming out with a brand new book called, like I said in the intro, Succession by Design. What inspired you to write this book, and what gap do you see in how business owners approach succession planning that you feel like this book can help them with?
Wow, what a great question. You know, the genesis behind the book was that this is such an underserved market. There's 10 million plus businesses changing hands in the next 9 years, totaling $13 trillion. And there's not enough people doing it successfully. There really aren't. There's lawyers trying to document their way into an exit plan. You know, I just don't see anybody really going into a business owner saying, what's your business worth? What are your goals and objectives? And let us create a plan so that you can exit in style with minimal taxes and minimal risk of ever running. And, you know, I find it fascinating. The reason why most people face their future with apprehension instead of anticipation, and whether it's retirement or selling their business or transitioning whatever it is. But the reason that they have apprehension is because they don't have it well designed. I mean, it's kind of like building a house without a blueprint. Like, well, here's lumber, here's concrete, here's some A-frames and roofing materials. Now what? And it wound up being a really easy book to write because we're just following our process. It's been tried and true 23 years that we've been doing succession planning.
Who is the audience for this book? Who should be reading this book?
Anybody that's a business owner or an advisor to a business owner.
Right, we're all working with that same client.
Right. And, you know, this is the only thing I've ever seen where I've had people stop me in an elevator, when, you know, they say, oh, what do you do? I said, I help people figure out how they want to get out of their business so they can exit in style and live happily ever after. And they're like, stop, what? I mean, think about, the famous movie, iconic movie, Forrest Gump. Lieutenant Dan and Forrest weathered a big hurricane in a shrimp boat by luck. And I liken that to the silver tsunami that's coming with all of these people that are transitioning out of their business that are my age or older. And I mean, do you really want to take the Lieutenant Dan and Forrest Gump approach, or do you want to come up with a plan of how you're going to weather this storm? Because as you guys know, there's not enough money to pay everybody the estimated market value of their businesses in the next 8 years. That'd be half the economy. And, you know, it takes people like you all, it takes people like us to help people realize their dreams without the Forrest Gump, you know, stick your head in a shrimp bucket and hope for the best.
You fail the plan, you plan to fail, right?
Correct.
What? You know, in your, you emphasize being intentional rather than reactive. So kind of like you're saying, you're reacting to this storm that's coming at you, but intentionally now planning for it. Tell us a little bit more about that, and maybe an example of a client you have where you were able to kind of flip that, where they're reactive to more intentional, that really paid dividends for them.
I'll tell you the story. It's a tragic one, but it's the one that launched us really into this. I had a client in Texas who called me in 2004 and said, "We need to hire you." I said, "Why? I don't remember meeting you." And he said, "Yeah, we met a couple of years ago, and I've had a couple of incidents. I've had 2 heart attacks in successive months." Holy cow. And so we got hired in the fall of 2004 and did all this pre-planning and, getting everything ready, a lot of gifting, estate planning, what have you. And we had a conference room full of, accountants and lawyers and, some idiot that was trying to do a valuation of the business, not very well. And he got up and he said, "Would you go outside and smoke a cigarette with me?" I said, "I don't smoke, but I'll go drink water with you." And so he said, "I don't really know what all those people are in there doing, but I'm surmised that you know and you're orchestrating this whole deal." I said, "Yes." And he goes, "Well, here's what I want you to do, and I want you to remember this. I want you to pack my parachute and take me up in an airplane high enough to when you gently nudge me out and I pull my ripcord and I land in a nice green meadow." I think you know, Nick, what the green meant. That meant money. But he also said, "If my parachute doesn't open up, you better make dang sure my backup parachute does, or I'm going to haunt you." I said, "Yes, sir." He got diagnosed 60 days later with pancreatic cancer and died 6 months after that. His wife died a year later from a different form of cancer. So we knew at that point 2 things. One, this was going to be my calling if it worked. Everything we did worked to a T. The business transitioned to the next generation without voting control. We had a GM put in as president. The business doubled over the next 4 years and they sold it. That's a tragic story, but the tragedy was their passing. The tragedy was not the planning. If they hadn't had a plan, it would have been a disaster. And I have a lot of stories about, we do 2, 3, 4 a year where they're exiting either internally or to a third party. I have plenty of those, but the ones that meet the rubber of the road was the one where tragedy struck, but because of planning, everything worked to a T. And, we talk about, when I ask a business owner, "Tell me about your continuity plan," they said, "I got $500 million of life insurance and a shareholder agreement." That's no more a plan than a house with concrete poured, lumber dumped, and roofing materials dumped. That's not a house any more than those are tools. And what we do and what you guys do on the valuation front, those are the engines. The plan and the value drive each other. The driver is the value of the business. And one of the things, I know I'm getting off track right here, but one of the things that I have found so enlightening with Cornerstone, most people only want to do a value when they're getting ready to sell the business. We want one every year because we need to be able to tell the client when their personal wealth and their business value are aligned. And we get them to the point where we can call you and say, "Hey, Nick, guess what? You and your wife are now at a point where you have a 96% chance of never running out of money. If you want to pull the ripcord, I know a great M&A group, the same ones that have been valuing you all those years. And you don't think they're going to hire you? Yeah, they're going to hire you."
Absolutely.
And
you always want to be part of the solution and not avoid the conversation.
And before, the reason we formed our M&A firm, which is a Cornerstone member, is because I could not get people to do valuations more than 1 year. Just call me when you're ready to sell.
Yeah.
And that's so short-sighted. Furthermore, I never could get anybody to do pre-due diligence. And so we we would hand our clients over to an investment banker and they get the heck beat out of them going through all of that process and due diligence. And they come back to us and they're punch drunk and they want to wait a couple of years to do any work. And that's where I really learned the value of firms like you all's. and ours that's in it, our clients have had an overwhelmingly positive response to Mike Lambrick's approach.
Well, and not only does the business owner need to be comfortable with the M&A advisor, but it's also got to be the other way around, because if one side is off, it's the deal is going to be less likely to be successful.
Correct.
So you're going to spend a lot of time together for the next 6 to 12 months, however long it takes. You better like each other, you better believe in each other, and you better be on the same page. And that's where that pre-due diligence kind of comes in, where we talk about, like, let's date before we get married, and let's see if we like each other, and let's see if your business is ready to sell. And coming from a referral from you guys, it most likely is going to be ready to sell. So okay, what does the next steps look like? Where we got to do X, Y, and Z to get you prepared for market. Are you ready for this emotionally, mentally? Do you have everything? So it definitely, you want to make sure you do that up front, because otherwise it could be a long 12 months.
Well, think about that. If you don't, somebody makes them an offer. I love this one. I got an offer. What can you do? Clap? I mean, is it enough? I think so. Have you factored in taxes?
Right. That's a big one.
Have you factored in all of the others? What's going to happen to your key executives? Are they going to stay? Are they incentivized to stay? Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, if you don't know, I mean, it's back to the Lieutenant Dan and Forrest Gump approach. Well, let's just hope we get through this hurricane alive.
Yep. Wish for the best.
That's why people have apprehension.
Well, and to your point, you talk about just the gap of, what you want to what you need to live, how you've been living compared to what your business is worth, because it's probably their biggest financial transaction of their life. If you're going into that without knowing, yes, this is enough money, then it's kind of a foolish approach, because most likely you're gonna run out of money at some point. Or if you want to take care of the next generation and beyond, like, you got to prepare for that.
Yep, the legacy planning. Very true.
The back of a napkin valuation is not enough.
No, it's not. No, it's not. And I love my accountant does a valuation. Really? Are they going out and getting you market metrics to see what the true market value is? Or are we doing this for gifting? Those are two different situations.
Exactly.
And I don't think they have the resources to get in, KPIs and all of that stuff. So what are we doing? Don't you want to know what the outside world thinks of your business versus your book value?
Yep.
Those are two different things.
And a lot of times you can know a range, but until you go to market, it's like, this is what we can get. I mean, we're always going to know, like, hey, we think we can get this. And if you can exceed that benchmark, amazing. That's great. That's the best for everybody. But, if we're doing our job correctly, and very well, Jim, that if we're bringing you multiple offers to the table, you have options, and we can drive that price up. Like, that's what an M&A advisory firm does. If they're doing their job correctly, that they're going to give you, the business owner, some options to consider. And it might not always be the highest dollar amount. Obviously, that's great, but there's structure that's involved, in legacy. Sure.
And versus having multiple offers versus, I just had somebody drop off a form that says my business is worth $10 million. Mm-hmm. You have one offer. And from somebody who doesn't know you, doesn't know squat about your business, doesn't know what your goals and objectives are. So they have no idea about that. But you cling to that. Yep. As it's like having one rod in the water to catch 10 fish. I'd rather have 10 rods in the water.
Our founder, Scott Bushke, tells a story all the time that, when he, and this goes true for, pretty much all of our Cornerstone International Alliance firms, is you go up against an unsolicited offer from a buyer, probably 9 times out of 10, that you're going to surpass that. Plus, that buyer is going to stay in the process, and you're probably going to find a better offer out there. The thing we want to avoid is the one-on-one negotiation with the buyer and the seller, because who's got the advantage? It's the person, the firm who's bought 100 businesses, correct, not the seller who's never sold one.
And the broker has one goal in mind: my transaction fee.
Well, and they've done it as much as the buyer has done. So now the playing level is, the playing field is leveled, because now we got, experience on both sides, and the business owner is going to benefit from that.
Well, with firms like in Cornerstone, you're learning about the client. You're typically visiting the client.
Yep.
You get to feel the blood, sweat, and tears. I don't care if it's a technology company or manufacturing widgets. And you get to know them, and you get to know the kind of buyers that they're looking for that you can go find versus, a private equity that may not care, or, somebody that is a competitor that they don't want to sell to. You get to learn about it, and you become a valuable advisor because you've been doing these valuations for them.
And plus, what the motivation is for them to sell. And, working with someone like you and your team where you've put the time, effort, and energy into, understanding that, but also, getting them to an optimal time to sell, bringing you in. So bringing the team in around the business owner is going to be extremely helpful. And we're all going to work together to secure that best deal. But knowing the motivation is huge because now we understand, I've worked in the business for 50 years and, I want to take care of my kids, their kids and their kids. I want to make sure that we're in a spot. Okay, I understand your motivation now, or I can't grow the business anymore. I got it to a certain level, but I want to stay on for another 5 years to get a second bite at the apple. That's different motivations, but it helps you as the advisor to understand how to approach it and what they want to get out of this thing.
For sure.
What is the happily ever after wealth number?
People call me. I use you. Nick called. Hey, Jim. I hadn't met you, but I heard about you. We just got an offer for $12 million or $15 million. I use that, $15 million. And, can you help with that? So, well, what am I supposed to help with? Well, help execute the buy-sell agreement. What's your number? 15 million. No. It's not the number. What's your number? It's 15 million. I said, no, it's a sell price. Do you have debt? You have $4 million of debt. This was a conversation I had happen. So that takes you to 11 million. And then there's that word that begins with a T. What does that figure look like? Are you selling equity? Are you selling goodwill? Or, are you selling assets? I don't know. Okay. So how much income do you need to live on? Well, $500,000 a year. You better start smoking Camel no filters and shorten your life expectancy because you're going to be out of money. So the happily ever after number is how much do you need net after you've exited the business? How much money do you need to live on for the rest of your life? And that's where the business value comes in. And we watch that thing go up, hopefully sometimes never down, but sometimes it happens. But we get it up to here, and we've aligned your personal wealth in there so that when you combine them in the exit and you take less than a 4% income distribution out of your bucket of money every year, unless you just go crazy, you're never going to outlive your money. And now we're talking about legacy planning. That is what finding your number is. And it is based on your current living expenses and your objective. It needs to be done. It's a big objective. It's one of the first things we do.
This episode of the M&A Mastermind Podcast is powered by Cornerstone International Alliance, where leading M&A firms come together. As part of this international network, you get access to global opportunities, over 200 M&A experts, enhanced collaboration and knowledge sharing, and some of the best M&A tools and resources available, all to help you take your firm to the next level. Ready to join this exclusive network? Visit cornerstoneia.com/new member today. How should a business owner be able to calculate that number? Or what is the work that you do to help them understand what that number looks like?
We build a plan. One of the things that I don't understand why our peers don't seem to do it, I don't recall ever seeing a prospective client situation where their personal wealth and their business are aligned. I've never seen it. The personal wealth is pointed this direction. It was done by different lawyers, maybe different accountants, maybe different financial people. And when you align them, then they're putting money away to lessen the impact of a situation like this. I had a client, the longest tenured exit and succession planning client we ever had, hired us in 2008. I called him in August of 19. He's a phenomenal individual. And I said, you're now playing with the dealer's money. You've put the money away that we asked for, and your business value is such you're ready to, 94% chance of never running out of money on a Monte Carlo. And so he sold it in 2020. Remember what happened in 2020? COVID. So he had 2 bad quarters. Not disastrous quarters, but bad quarters. I mean, I think everybody. And the publicly traded company that was buying him said, we're going to discount this price 15%. Well, he panicked about it. So I went to our planning group and I said, what is the largest discount we can take to not impact this live happily ever after number? And they came out and said 9%. So I went back to the M&A firm and said, if you only negotiate this to a 9% discount, we'll take it. Because he had put enough money away to create some financial independence from the transaction that would occur in case something happened. COVID, how are we going to plan for that?
Yeah, right.
Right.
What's the importance of having a written out plan instead of something in concept? You talk about it, whatever, great, but something that's documented, written, so you can go back to. How important is that?
If you had a twin brother, Nick, had an identical business, identical family, identical 15-year-old sports fanatic, everything. Kids, business, family, everything's identical. Your twin came up with just keep working in the business and hoping for a great day someday. And you came out with a well thought out plan of how you were going to someday leave the business, knowing the business value, having your personal wealth aligned with your exit plan and your business value, with a robust continuity plan that does not blow up your family or your business or your key executives. Who's more likely to accomplish their objectives?
One with the plan.
I use the twin person analogy all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if I'm talking to somebody and they say, why wouldn't I just wait to do this? I said, is waiting going to help you? When should I start this? Yesterday. I mean, again, go back to the twin person analogy. Who's more likely to get there, maybe even sooner, with a plan?
What are, for maximizing value, what are 2 to 3 actionable steps business owners can take today that can materially move that needle closer to a sale?
Well, none of them are hiring us or you to say, what you guys need to do is you need to make more money and make more profit. Duh. I mean, you don't have to go to business school for that. Tell me about your key executives. Are they incentivized to help you grow the business? If you get hit by a bus, are they incentivized to remain with the business? Because if they're not, the first thing that happens to you, Nick, you get hit by a bus and everybody goes, oh my gosh, poor Mrs. Olsen, The second thing they think about is, what about me? Do I need to update my resume? Do I need to look for a job? And I've just never, I've never seen a situation where you have, and I'll call it your pre-due diligence. I look at due diligence as opening up a refrigerator stocked full of stuff. And if nothing smells bad, we're probably okay. If something smells bad, a buyer's going to take every single thing out of that refrigerator until they find out what's bad. Like this. Tell me about your risk audit. If I'm buying a business, I want to know if there are any holes that I need to plug or be concerned about. That same client that we told you that had during COVID, 2 years prior, we suggested a risk audit from a PNC firm, his PNC firm. And he goes, they said we didn't need to do it. I said, well, then hire somebody else. So we suggested somebody actually with Marsh. And they came back. He called me and he goes, I got to get ransomware insurance. I'm like, yeah, I know. It's prevalent these days. He goes, I manufacture aluminum. What do I need that for? I said, I don't know. I'm an advisor. What do I need it for? But I got it. I said, you're going to spend more in golf than you're going to spend for that. Big shock. 2 months? No. A month before he was due to close with the publicly traded company, he got a ransomware attack for $5 million.
Oh, wow.
He shut it down instantly. The insurance company came in, acted on his behalf as though they were him, talking to the people. I think they were Russia or Ukraine. I don't know where they were, somewhere over there. And they settled it for $1.5 million. He paid a $10,000 deductible and walked away. And they closed 2 weeks later. These are just things that, and I would tell you, if you're a business owner or if you're somebody working with a business owner, if I had you flip the script and you were buying your business, what are the holes that you would notice that would make you not pay fair market value for?
Mm-hmm. That's an interesting way to look at it. And do you typically get a handful of responses that they know right away what the holes are?
I don't really think I have any holes. I mean, I've known my broker forever. We play golf and he takes me on fishing trips. Oh, that's good. We had a client. There's another story about risk. We've done everything for this company. That they're the second generation, 3 brothers own it. They do phenomenal. And I called the older brother who runs the company and I said, hey, I think we need to do a risk audit. And he goes, is that something you guys do? I said, no, but we get somebody to do it. I'm all right. I've known Bill forever. A few months later, forklift turned over an employee and killed him. The broker had failed to attach by his initial their $10 million umbrella policy to their liability policy of $1 million. So they came out of pocket for the rest. To this minute, I actually have a call with him tomorrow. To this minute, he said, I am your spokesman for getting a risk audit. Anybody that balks at it, have them call me. So that's reason not to do those things.
Yeah, for sure. What about, so you talk about a risk audit, that's someone else in the picture. What does the dream team mean, and how does someone put one together?
For starters, you have to have a good valuation firm. Somebody that's not just invested in the transaction. Somebody that really cares about the outcome and how they get to the outcome. Secondly, you need to develop a great relationship with an attorney and a CPA, especially an attorney, because we frequently come into, my divorce lawyer can handle our transaction. Like, no, I don't think so. And, you have valuation done. You either develop a good relationship with their client's accountant, or if that's not, or they want to change, have resources at your disposal. Have accountants and lawyers that can help. Valuation, which obviously is cornerstone, and those are the team. Internally, you need to have people that can help plan. It's really not nuclear physics, as if you ever read the book, it outlines. I lay it in there step by step. It's not rocket science, but it requires diligence and fluidity. I'm not creating a blueprint that you can just go stick in your drawer. It needs to be updated at a minimum annually. Things change, and if you don't think they change, think about all the things that have transpired in your or anybody listening to this' life in the last 3 years. I guarantee you something in the last 3 to 5 years, something has happened. Change in family situation, change in business, key executives have left or come or what have you. There's just things that change over.
So yeah, build a team around you. They all play a role. They all have a reason to be there, all to help the business owner and insulate them from, all the risk and all the things they need to know, plus understanding their value and getting them ready to increase value and ready to sell whenever that time might be. What would you say to M&A advisors out there who are working with business owners? They're not ready to sell, kind of thing, whether it's the numbers just don't make sense or mentally they're not, or, they need some work or whatever. Like, what should they be considering? Because you got a couple of options, right? You could just say, yeah, we're not ready to take you on. Call me back in 3 years. Well, that might be the case, but that's not a great solution to their issue, because now they're going to come back to you in 3 years and probably be in about the same position they are. So minus that, like what should they be doing?
Well, first of all, if I were an M&A advisor, I would say for a nominal fee, let us do an appraisal of your business every year so you can see whether you're growing or not. And while we're doing that appraisal, we will be able to make recommendations to you of things you need to do and consider. And whether it's your books, just things that you have to do to get ready to exit your business. And then maybe in your advisor group, you find a consultant that can help them grow the business. So many people right now, especially the older generation, AI has them panic stricken. They think AI is going to, take over mowing their grass, much less everything else. And if you can go in there or provide value to somebody by introducing them to Jane Smith, who can come in and, help you utilize AI if appropriate and help you grow your business, help you do what the M&A firm or us had said, a firm like us has said you need to do to be able to exit according to your objectives and your number.
What about, last question after you, Jim? Actually, I have two more questions, but last one. What would you tell the business owner who has done zero planning, to understand the readiness for sale or value enhancement? Mr. and Mrs. Business Owner, what do you need to do? What are a couple of things you need to do tomorrow to put yourself in a better situation?
Find somebody to help you design a plan based around your objectives, not their objectives. I don't care about your lawyer's objectives. I don't care about your accountant's objectives. I care about you and your spouse's objectives. Find somebody that can come in, and I'm going to tout you guys because obviously you know how I feel about Cornerstone. Come in and do a value year over year, because you just have to ask the client the twin personality that I referenced earlier. Would you rather be Lieutenant Dan and Forrest, or do you want to be somebody that's proactively preparing for the tsunami that's coming? That's what I would do.
Especially too, you say all the businesses coming, the 13, 14 trillion dollars worth of businesses in the next, however many years. And you mentioned before, there's, the amount of money that will be available to all those business owners, it might fall a little short. I would imagine planning ahead, to not be on the wrong side of that, because there could be a lot of competition out there too, whether it's in your industry or others, for just the capital that's out there. So I would imagine that's even more of a reason to button up everything and make sure you have a plan in place.
Yeah. I mean, what is it? If you're prepared, as I said earlier, the reason why most people face this kind of future with apprehension instead of anticipation is because they don't have it well designed. They don't have a plan.
Yep.
That's it.
Jim, this has been amazing. Tell our listeners one more time about your book. Where can they find it? And when will it be available and all that great stuff?
It's being released July 28th. You can find about the book. There are various packages. successionbydesignbook.com. I'll repeat that, successionbydesign.com. There's all sorts of incentives in there. If you're just not wanting to buy one book, if you're wanting to host a group or what have you, there's all sorts of options in there. But I will tell you, if I'm in the M&A space, you'll find something in there that will be of value to your client. If you're a business owner, I'm laying out the map of how to create your plan, and I'll tell you why in just a second. But laying out this map, you're going to have to find somebody to help you with it. But again, I implore you, and the reason I really did write the book is I want to help business owners come out of the fog and not have apprehension. I want them to have excited anticipation. And I speak in front of advisory firms all over. I love doing it. Again, there's 10 million business owners that need help. That is the real passion behind this.
Succession by Design. Be on the lookout. You said July 28th, correct?
Yes. You can
July 28th.
Pre-order it. It'll be shipped out on July 28th. That's when it drops. I'm learning all this new lingo.
Yeah, when it drops. Yep. Get you on that bestsellers list and all that good stuff.
We're trying hard.
Yeah.
If word gets out to advisors and business owners, it'll be a no-brainer.
There you go. We will make sure the link to the book is in the show notes here. So check out the show notes. click on that link and purchase Jim's book. It's going to be a great resource for you as an advisor, for your clients as the business owner. Make sure to check that out and share it with your friends and family. Jim, thank you so much for joining the episode again. It was great having you back. Appreciate it. You got an open invitation to come back anytime. That's it. That's all we have for this episode of the M&A Mastermind Podcast. Make sure to like, share, and comment on this episode. Pass it on to anybody who you think might benefit here from our conversation. And subscribe to all the places where you get to our podcast, where all the places you get podcast episodes. Click that notification button. Make sure you get notified every time a brand new episode is live. Take care, everybody. Until next time. Thank you for joining us on this episode of the M&A Mastermind Podcast, and a special thank you to our presenting sponsor, Cornerstone International Alliance. If you enjoyed today's discussion, don't forget to like, share, and comment. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. We'll be back next week with more insights, strategies, and real-life experiences to help you take your M&A game to the next level.